Satoshi Kon is the one area where the Venn diagram between weebs and cinephiles overlaps, the one place where both factions can live in peace and harmony and talk about beautiful things such as the influence Paprika and Perfect Blue had on filmmakers like Christopher Nolan or Darren Aronofsky. Although Kon isn't exactly peak obscurity, those two films have absorbed most of the attention that he has received, leaving both Millennium Actress and Tokyo Godfathers as more of Kon deep cuts. Which is a particular shame when it comes to the latter because the film is more than good enough to enter most people's Christmas rotation, and in some way totally outclasses the likes of Die Hard and Home Alone, which are great Christmas films in their own right. But as they say, Christmas is a time of torturing retail workers with Mariah Carey and giving, so I'm choosing to give an explanation on why Tokyo Godfathers is one of the best Christmas films that you will ever see. The film follows three homeless people, the drunk Jin, the drag queen Hana, and the runaway Miyuki, as they find a baby on the streets of Tokyo and try to return it to its parents, which immediately establishes what the entire film is going to be about. Family. Much of the film is spent juxtaposing images of traditional family units that look healthy in photos or from a distance with the reality which often reveals just how dysfunctional they are. And each one of the main characters is a primary example of that. All of them, including the baby, come from a broken family unit that is explored throughout the film. Miyuki ran away from home after stabbing her father after a misunderstanding and is too embarrassed to go back. Hana similarly caused a scandal and ran away from her foster family. Jin gambled away all his money and also left out of embarrassment. And the people who appear to be the baby's parents have also experienced a schism of some kind that the characters have to investigate. However, in the face of all these family units that look healthy on the outside but have issues, there is another family unit in the film which looks dysfunctional and bickers all the time but actually has a deep care for one another. And that's the unit that the three central characters in the film form. The bond between them is constantly tested and challenged in the film, but unlike all the others, it actually stands strong and overcomes the issues that have led to the collapse of all the other families in the film, much like you have to overcome your annoying distant relatives during the yearly Christmas gathering. Although Tokyo Godfathers is by far the most straightforward Satoshi Kon film and doesn't tell a fragmented, non-linear story told in a stream of consciousness style, or include a lot of visual flourishes that add a ton of formal complexity, one thing that makes it distinctly a Kon film is how many controversial subjects it probes. Despite being made in a non-Christian country, it has some really interesting allusions to Christian mythology, such as the baby embodying baby Jesus and the three homeless people alluding to the three kings. Although queerness was a particularly taboo subject in 2003 Japan, one of the main characters in the film is a drag queen, and most notably the film follows three homeless people. Although the subject is pretty normal in America, it still carries an incredibly heavy stigma in Japan to this day. Due to the heavy emphasis Japanese people place on tradition and honor, homeless people are seen as a disgrace, as something lesser and sometimes even subhuman. But through the main characters, Kon explores how each one of them ended up in this situation. Every line of dialogue is cleverly written to give some insight or foreshadow something vital to the entire film, which is that every one of them ended up homeless out of their own choice. Each one felt that they had let their family down and that they didn't deserve forgiveness, which is why they ultimately cast themselves out despite their family's attempts to reconcile. Even by Western standards, that's an incredibly empathetic and sincere look at homelessness, and what leads some people to opt into that path. But everyone knows that it takes more than just a tight script and some wholesome themes to make a good Christmas film. Just look at the Polar Express, which has none of those things but still managed to ingratiate itself as a festive staple. Or a festive horror staple, depending on who you ask. A true Christmas film must nail the festive atmosphere, something that even Hallmark films occasionally get right despite being the most AI-generated films that impressively were not actually generated by AI. What is even more impressive though is that a country with virtually no Christian population put out one of the most festive Christmas films ever. It's not just the snow or the time of the year like in Die Hard. Tokyo Godfathers nails what Christmas is actually about. A time for family, a time for forgiveness and redemption, and a time for hope and miracles. The film has one of the most surreal and magical endings of any Christmas film that verges on outright divine intervention. However, it never feels like a deus ex machina or something overly saccharine, as some Western films do. And that's because the film ultimately nails the Christmas spirit, in a way that revisiting it each time doesn't just feel like sitting through this fun adventure one more time, but like actually hanging out with a family and celebrating Christmas with them. So consider enrolling in the Weeb Academy and treading some new ground this year. Peruse Tokyo Godfathers, and after you're done perusing it, also peruse this channel, and drop it a follow if you enjoyed the video. After all, Christmas is a time of giving, and I have plenty of threats I can give you if you refuse to do so.